Andrew Schultz is way more than a comedian. He's the comedian that broke YouTube. Andrew Schultz is a prolific podcaster. He's had his own Netflix special. He's hosted a TED Talk, and he sold out Madison Square Garden. This video will show you how to use your creative talent and storytelling to build an audience of superfans and diversify your income streams. My name is Angela Hollowell. I am the founder of Rootful Media and the host of the Honey and Hustle podcast. On this channel, I make videos showing you how to grow your audience and impact. Comedians traditionally make a lot of their income when they're on tour. However, tours only last for a season. He was able to buck that traditional income method with his own podcast and YouTube channel. Flagrant is a podcast that he hosts here on YouTube and anywhere you stream podcasts. And it was a way for him to repurpose his jokes and give them another life. A lot of comedians are really afraid for people to hear their jokes for the first time. But I think Andrew figured out that not everybody's gonna go to a show. You're not gonna go to every city ever. And if there's a way for you to help those jokes live on while you're writing new jokes and testing new material, why not do that on your own platform? So with a combination of videos taken while he's on stage on tour and the Flagrant podcast, he was able to give his videos new life, his jokes new life, and have them generate income for him while he was at home. While he was on the Colin and Samir show, he mentioned a lot of things that I think are really relevant to giving context to how he kind of built his diversity of income streams. So in addition to traditional YouTube AdSense or podcast partnerships, he also has a Patreon that has done really well with exclusive content. And of course, it's not just him, it's his whole team, which he says he'll put up against anybody, which is a huge confidence in what he's created and what he's built around his brand as a comedian. On the Colin and Samir show, he addressed why he did a Netflix special when he did a Netflix special. I think many people, many times, they want the notoriety and the audience that comes from Netflix, but Andrew Schultz already had an audience. For him, doing a Netflix special meant being able to get in front of a new audience that he could eventually bring back to his own channels. I really, really love his approach to thinking about Netflix in that way, because at the end of the day, whether you're a comedian, a filmmaker, Netflix is borrowed land, right? They could decide to take that special down at any time. So for Andrew, it wasn't necessarily about the longevity of having his name out there. It was about being able to grab a new audience that he could bring in to his own ecosystem. He also looks at his time as a podcast guest as an opportunity to collaborate. When he was on the Joe Rogan show, that for him represented an inflection point in gaining a new audience and really being intentional about how he used his presence on the show to benefit Joe Rogan, but also himself. And I think when we think about getting in front of new audiences, yes, we want to direct people back to us, but we also want to make the host look good. We also want people to feel as though we added to their show. And I think he's very strategic about collaborating with people, even Colin and Samir for their show, how he adds to what they're trying to build. If you've checked out the Flagrant podcast, if you checked out the Colin and Samir show, if for some reason you've watched the Joe Rogan Experience, let me know by dropping an emoji in the comments. Let's say a podcast emoji, a little mic emoji. I just want to know that you're checking in with me. You're here, you're solid. Hopefully you're interested in what Andrew Schultz is creating on the podcast space, because we're going to transition to a little bit about his approach to storytelling, which I'm super interested in. He's taken that approach in a couple different ways. He's done a TED Talk, which is probably not what someone would think of when they say, yeah, I want to, public speak so I can get in front of a new audience. His TED Talk was really interesting. It was about if comedy could get funnier and his career as a comedian as well, in a very different tone than you probably are used to seeing him speak in. A little more measured. He still was able to add jokes in there, but it was a little more strategic and it was a little more educational than what his usual stuff is. Instead of just highlights, it was really in depth. And I feel like he did a great job on that. I feel like, again, as a storyteller, he's kind of shown his chops a little bit in that he's been able to own his story in different ways, and he's explored different mediums for telling his story. When he sold out Madison Square Garden last year, I'm filming this in 2024, he sold it out in 2023, he made a video sharing that experience with his dad, which is so moving. So not only has he shown us that he can make us laugh, but he's shown us that he can make us cry. And I don't think that, if he hadn't put in the effort to tell that story, that someone else would have come along and done as good of a job as he did. And I think that that is just the perfect mirror of your creative talent as a creator and understanding the importance of storytelling for audience building and audience relationship, deepening that relationship with your audience. He is a part of a group of comedians who I feel like really understand the value of production and the value of storytelling, and not just making people laugh, not just using our talent to wow people. When it comes to creating these diverse income streams that on some level a lot of creators want, myself included, he really looked outside of traditional approaches and thought about how he could use his platform and create his own platform to build a brand that people would really be inspired to follow along with. And by strategically repurposing his content, which a lot of people think about nowadays when we think about long form podcasting, people are like, oh, it's a great way to repurpose content. It's like, well, yes, but I think you should be strategic about it. And I think Andrew Schultz has shown that when you are strategic about repurposing your best content, not just repurposing any content, that it can really pay dividends in terms of finding new audiences and deepening the connection you have with your existing audience. And ultimately, in order to make income, you have to make an impact. And that's what he's done across a multitude of different platforms. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this gave you some ideas about how you can not only be a great creator, but use your creativity to tell your story in different ways and grow your audience in different ways. I make a lot of videos about how to help you grow your audience and impact. So if you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more, and I will see you in the next video.